everyone, Shirley here. When markets are disrupted and chaos ensues, smart business owners assess the risk of taking certain actions versus the opportunities that may arise during those times of uncertainty. The federal marketplace is unique, highly regulated, even with some of the deregulations coming, complex. There are multiple layers of decision makers and constituencies that must be satisfied, and huge. There's $750 billion in discretionary spending in the FY25 budget. My name is Shirley Collier. I'm a serial entrepreneur and founder and CEO of Skeleton Market, whose mission is to help small GovCons think, plan, and execute the business strategies that will allow their companies to grow in the very complex government marketplace. Today, we're tackling the topic of understanding and mitigating the risks that your company may face as you serve federal agencies, and how does mitigating those risks help position your company for growth. My special guests today to help us understand these essential matters are Richard Vartain and Dave Dorey, each with extensive GovCon law experience in different areas of specialty, from the law firm Liff, Walsh & Simmons. Welcome, Rich and Dave.
Thank you, Shirley. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's a pleasure for me to be here too, Shirley.
Thank you both. Thank you for joining us today for this important discussion. I only briefly introduced you. Please tell our audience a little more about yourselves. Rich, can you go first?
Hi again, Shirley. I am government contract cyber and national security lawyer with Liff, Walsh & Simmons in Annapolis and the greater D.C., Northern Virginia, and Baltimore areas, also handling civil fraud investigations. I have been in the House representing a large telecom and its national security and government contract work, and with DOJ trying False Claims Act cases.
Great. Thanks, Rich. And Dave?
I'm a labor and employment attorney and have done a good amount of work for GovCon clients and well understand the particular challenges they face. I have practiced at an international law firm in Washington, D.C., have been a political appointee at the United States Departments of Labor and Homeland Security, and now run the labor and employment practice at our firm, Liff, Walsh & Simmons.
Awesome. Rich, let's start with some definitions. What do we mean when we say risk related to government contracting as opposed to other types of risk?
Sure. Government contract legal risks are peculiar to doing business with the federal government. They include acquisition legal risks because it's often complicated to win and retain government work. Think bid protests. There are performance risks because the work may be novel and dangerous. There are compliance risks because the government imposes a lot of extra requirements on contractors and has unusual and powerful compliance tools at its disposal, including suspension and debarment, treble damages, and even jail. There are accounting risks because it often imposes strict accounting rules for certain contracts that, if breached, can cost you money and future work. And now there are even payment risks, which really have not been prevalent before because of the immense amount of stop work orders and terminations for convenience going on, especially outside the IC agencies. I read the other day that there have been more terminations for convenience in these last 100 days than for any similar period since such records were kept. I suspect some of our audience have experienced that, and additionally, the on and off again stop work order. Government contract company owners and executives spend far more time managing the legal risks, such as these, than commercial companies manage like risks in their work.
I agree 100%, Rich. For the first time, I am hearing that the government is not paying vendors in a timely manner, which can be devastating to small businesses. So, Dave, how do you define employment risk?
Whenever a business chooses to take on employees, it immediately enters into a highly regulated and complicated environment. It is at once subject to overlapping and even contradictory employment laws that run the gamut from how and when to pay wages, to anti-discrimination, to safety, to benefits, to everything in between. This web of laws does not get less complicated because GovCons have contracts with the federal government. It in fact gets more complicated. How much risk is present in dealing with this is a function of how much preparation and mitigation an employer does up front, and how much it invests in oversight and compliance thereafter. Many employers unfortunately choose to wing it and end up with unexpected substantial liability.
Winging it is never good in such a complex marketplace. Rich, the last 6 months have been uncertain and stressful for the contractor community, to say the least. What are you thinking is the best course of action given all of this turmoil?
2025 will be rocky, but 2026 could be great. I think the key is to lock down the compliance issues the government is currently most concerned with: cyber, labor compliance, good accounting and billing systems, and then show the clients how your products and services are innovative but proven enough to meet their critical mission needs. Do the basics well, take away the customer's risk factors by doing business with you, even as you're giving them new reasons to buy from you. Some specifics: keep detailed records, especially of incurred costs. Document, too, your verbal conversations with government or prime contractor personnel, and then retain those. Perhaps look at your document retention policy and lengthen it until all the uncertainty sorts itself out. It may be that some might think that when revenue is at risk, as it has been in the past few months, that cyber, labor, compliance, and accounting practice should take a back seat. But this is actually the time that they need special attention. Failures in these areas are more likely to occur when business stress goes up than when things are smooth sailing.
Business stress has definitely gone up in the last 6 months. There's a lot of pressure on agencies right now to cut costs, but at the same time to innovate. So it's like two sides of the same coin. And what I tell my clients is anything that you can do to alleviate that pressure on your clients, on these agencies, by reducing the risk associated with doing business with you, then you'll be looked upon more favorably. So, Rich, what are some of the key compliance recommendations contractors should follow in your experience? How can they get the most bang for the buck?
Yes, the government imposes a lot of regulatory requirements on its contractors, but it all starts with the Contractor Code of Business Requirements in the Federal Acquisition Regulations, Part 3, and all the other ethical requirements set forth therein. You really must make them the lifeblood of your firm. It's got to be a cultural thing. It's both top down and bottoms up. And yet, no one by themselves can do it alone. 90% of the time, the team knows where to go, yet things will regularly come up where the direction is not clear. Regular meetings with the accounting team, compliance leadership, and legal with all your employees, where everyone is encouraged to bring problems up, solve them together, get ahead of the difficulties, is so very key. It makes the culture hum with the attitude we can get through the days doing the right thing, even when things go south. We all have peace because we're working on the problems together and not going off the path, especially on our own. So I really think it's a cultural thing.
I agree, Rich, and that reflects my experience. When times are difficult, it's important that everyone in the company come together and solve problems and forge a path forward together. So, Dave, labor and employment laws are among the trickiest in the country. What is the number one thing contractors should keep in mind as they grow their companies in the federal space?
There are overlapping jurisdictions, that's federal, state, and local, sometimes with what look like contradictory laws. And there are specific additional rules just for government contractors. These laws and rules are difficult to understand, even at a high level, as to which of them apply to a company or to a given employee. And they come with significant penalties for non-compliance, potential penalties into the 6 and 7 figures just for one mistake, not to mention the reputational harm. Getting ahead of the major risk is the one thing government contractors should keep in mind. Invest in competent labor and employment counsel to help you manage and mitigate risk. That helps avoid disputes or, when they arise, makes you better prepared to win.
So, Dave, what sort of things can help mitigate risk up front before they occur?
There are many things, and they very much depend on the size of the employer, the makeup of the workforce, and the jurisdiction or jurisdictions in which they work. With that said, some upfront basics can help keep people out of trouble. Things like clear employment agreements, an up-to-date and jurisdictionally appropriate employee handbook, strict compliance with I-9 and poster requirements, capitalizing the business appropriately to ensure employees are promptly paid, and never ever misclassifying an employee.
What specific employment issues are regularly coming up for government contractors?
Good question. One item of concern is the loss of IP and know-how from key employees moving from one company to another. It's very common in this space. If you have a new employee, you may sometimes get a letter from the employee's prior company asking what sort of protection you have in place to ensure your company will not learn or use the former company's IP that the employee may have within their knowledge. On the other hand, if you're losing an employee, you may have concerns that the former employee has wrongly taken IP from you. You may need to take action to protect your company's rights. Experienced labor and government contract counsel should be consulted.
Many of my clients are in the innovation space as well, so understanding how to protect intellectual property early and defend it on an ongoing basis could significantly affect the future value of the company. Are there any others, Dave?
Another thing that surfaces, not infrequently, unfortunately, is when you find out an employee is under investigation by the IG or being sought as a witness. What can you do and how should you handle it? Can you talk to the employee about the issue, and should you? Do you have to make the employee available to the IG, even if they are not investigating your company or the employee? All these different scenarios go to what Rich says about matters under investigation. The labor relations questions are just another complication on top of the investigation into the contract behavior, and it calls for experienced counsel to help.
And by IG, we mean Inspector General, right?
Yes, that's right.
You certainly do not want to take on that alone as a business owner, or for heaven's sakes, use artificial intelligence to write your responses. Rich, I want to bring you in on this discussion about the Inspector General, but we need to take a break. I'm talking to Richard Vartain and Dave Dorey, GovCon attorneys at the law firm Liff, Walsh & Simmons. When we come back, we'll talk about allegations of wrongdoing and what small contractors should consider doing. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Shirley Collier, President and founder of Scale to Market, is your host for this Growth Masters Federal presentation. Scale to Market helps businesses think, plan, collaborate, and build market value by developing and executing customized, data-driven business development playbooks, building efficient information systems, and creating high-performing BD teams. Utilizing the proprietary Davy Business Development Growth Framework, Scale to Market partners with business owners and executives to increase their company's value by achieving profitable and sustainable growth in the federal marketplace. Email Shirley at scollier@scaletomarket.com to learn more about the Davy Growth Framework and how it can be instrumental in helping grow your federal contracting business. Back now to Shirley's conversation with Richard Vartain and Dave Dorey from the law firm Liff, Walsh & Simmons as they discuss managing risks and taking advantage of opportunities in the changing federal marketplace.
Welcome back. Before the break, we were discussing employment matters associated with allegations of wrongdoing. Rich, if the Department of Justice, the Inspector General, a whistleblower, or a prime contractor makes some allegations of wrongdoing, what should the small or mid-sized contractor consider?
Sure, this is a special place where good counsel is necessary because the contractor's leadership must have a good evaluation of the facts and how they relate to the contract, regulations, and any relevant fraud and abuse-related laws. Do not try to fly the plane alone here and work it by yourself and respond to the government or prime contractors, auditors, or investigators. Invariably, you will not see the implications of certain facts as the government might, nor have the point of view of your customer on the matter. It may not be that you need a huge litigation firm to manage the matter, but just a single experienced lawyer, even one who is in a small or solo practice, may be all you need to ensure that you get a good handle of what is going on, how it relates to the rules, how the government or prime contractor may see the situation, and how best to position your firm to resolve any concerns with the least expense. and best going forward position possible. One other thing, it's good to remind that even if the allegations come up from within your company and no one outside is yet aware, the FAR business and ethics rules mandate certain disclosures to the government when you become aware of certain types of wrongdoing in the formation or performance of the government contract or subcontract. This is where an experienced counsel is really valuable.
And Rich, thank you for mentioning that going to a large law firm is not always the right answer. There are many small firms and individual attorneys who are excellent and reasonably priced. As we wrap up our discussion, I want to leave our audience with advice and the business benefits of managing risk. Rich, you've handled the False Claims Act cases for the Department of Justice and worked in-house for a large government contractor handling its IC and defense business, and now have spent some time with Liff Walsh in a private practice. What has all that experience taught you that can be helpful to our small GovCon audience?
I think government contractors have to keep two timelines in mind. There are the problems and concerns of the customer that are imminent. Those are the things policymakers are forcing the customers to pay attention to now. Think of labor enforcement, cyber, the China threat, innovation, speed at scale, as is the current focus. On the other hand, there is the essential mission of the customer, the thing they need done every day and done well. For example, in the IC, it might be human intelligence or signal intelligence. Those things you are paid specifically to do for it. You must do both well to grow and survive, and each has legal and business risks. Depending on the size of your business and your entry into the government market, one may do one better than the other. That imposes risks for you. And many lawyers will market their experience in one or the other domain, the short-term risks like cyber or the long-term needs like compliance. But just as a large company would expect from its general counsel, you should expect your counsel to help you manage both timelines.
I agree. Small contractors have the same risk as large ones. Dave, what are the benefits of mitigating employment risk?
It's very difficult for any business, let alone a government contractor, to grow with a risky employment program. Not only are mistakes very costly in terms of finances, but they distract from your ability to run your business on a growth trajectory. Risky employment programs make for unhappy employees, and unhappy employees don't support profitability and growth. And employment risk makes your company less valuable or even unsaleable when it's time to consider being acquired.
And that can be devastating to small contractors who have been working for 15, 20 years to build market value in anticipation of a sale. Rich, in your recent experience in-house, what do the big government contractors do for their legal support that perhaps small and mid-sized contractors could learn from?
Big firms have in-house counsel, and those counsels are available to everyone on their teams in connection with their government business. Each team member can reach out and get legal and business help as they need it before problems arise, anticipating the best course of, say, a negotiation or a government inquiry or performance problems. Smaller firms should try to replicate that with a fractional GC service from a law firm that can lean in with them and be available for all their needs, whether it's a bid and proposal questions, contract and subcontract negotiations, performance issues, compliance, audit, accounting, closeout issues, etc. The point is, the government business is too complex, and the regulatory compliance is too heavy-handed to fly the plane without a legal navigator. The legal costs need not be a barrier to having a team on the same playing field as the larger firms with in-house counsel. I think that's where a fractional GC can help you.
And when you say fractional GC, you mean fractional general counsel.
Correct. I mean a fractional general counsel, but using outside counsel as that fractional general counsel.
Yes, that's very good advice. The federal marketplace is changing rapidly, but many opportunities abound both today and in the years to come. Despite the promised deregulations, the legal aspects of government contracting are not expected to get any easier or less onerous. Contract compliance remains a huge risk for small government contractors. Employment law is probably the most complex for small businesses to navigate. With contract terminations and contract reinstatements, there are significant impacts on employees as well as the business. Cybersecurity compliance, protecting IP, and False Claims Act cases must all be understood and dealt with by even the smallest of government contractors. And I can tell you from personal experience that good, knowledgeable, caring attorneys are critical members of your external support team and are worth their weight in gold. Rich and Dave, do you have any final words of advice for our audience?
I sure do, Shirley. Thank you. I recommend that your audience find trusted government contract legal help. Invest in them a bit so they can help you manage the risks government contractors face. I think there's a real return on such an investment, and that such a relationship can bring not only in acquisition, performance, and compliance matters, but in peace of mind.
I agree. And Dave?
Thanks, Shirley. I agree with Rich. Find a labor and employment lawyer you trust to help position you for success. Mitigate risk up front by papering everything appropriately and manage risk thereafter with robust compliance. And then you'll be prepared if and when a dispute arises. The costs of doing that are far lower than cleaning up mistakes on the back end. Labor and employment isn't a set it and forget it kind of thing.
It certainly isn't, and I can tell you from personal experience that it isn't. Folks, if you would like to get in touch with Richard Vartain, he can be reached at rvartain, V-A-R-T-A-I-N, at liffwalsh.com. Dave Dorey can be reached at ddorey, and that's D-O-R-E-Y, at liffwalsh.com. Or you can reach out to us here at Scale to Market, and we'll make sure you're connected. This is Shirley Collier, President of Scale to Market and host of the Growth Masters Federal Podcast, signing off for now. As we close, I want to thank you for joining us today and encourage you to connect with me on LinkedIn and visit our website, that's scaletomarket.com with the number 2 in the middle, where you will find a link to our webcast on the Scale to Market YouTube channel, along with our Growth Masters Federal Podcast, white papers, my blog, and other links and resources. While there, please leave us a comment or suggestion so we can stay focused on what's important to you. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time.